And I really want to welcome everybody with a warm and happy heart tonight. And this is our 14th year, so we have a lot to celebrate and be thankful for. Um, we do this permanently now online because one of the benefits is we're able to record these sessions and then anybody can come back and watch them whenever they would like to do that. And we know everybody can't always be available at 6:30 the first Thursday of every month. So our Green Drinks is sponsored by Save the Dunes and the Michigan City Sustainability Commission. We're supported by Northwest Indiana Region Resilience, which is Kathy Sippel's organization. And I'm happy to announce our guest hosts this month are 95.1 FM AM, 1420 WIMS. And they gave us a whole bunch of coverage on social media. And today they were giving hour by hour shout outs on live air. So we're really thankful to them. Indiana Dunes National Park, Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, otherwise known as NIRPC, and Greenways and Blueways of Northwest Indiana. And I also want to give a shout out to the Beecher because I got the press release in late and they gave us a post on their Facebook page also. So we've had a lot of people helping us out this time. So that's what we have as far as our sponsors that make all of this possible. And Em, I'm going to hand it off to you for housekeeping purposes.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Nancy. And thank you everyone for joining us. Just some housekeeping notes. We ask that everyone here on Zoom remains muted for the duration of the presentation, but feel free to drop any comments or questions in the chat or hold them for the end. I hope that we have some time at the end to answer any of your burning questions about the Marquette Greenway that we might come up here. And if you're watching on Facebook, please leave any comments or any questions in the comments underneath the video. There's a slight lag, so usually we'll let them catch up and we'll do questions from Facebook if there are any at the end. Yeah, and without further ado, I will hand it off to our presenters.
I will introduce them first, if that's okay.
Right ahead.
I lost the title of our thing. What happened? Okay, well, this is very interesting. Okay, well, anyhow, it was something about, oh, you know what? I can find it very quickly. Um, okay, tonight's program is called Finishing Up the Missing Links, Exciting Progress on Indiana Dunes National Park Trail. And our talk is going to go beyond that because this Marquette Greenway actually will connect eventually Chicago to New Buffalo and beyond. And we have with us inspirational Rafi Wilkerson. He's a park ranger with the Indiana Dunes National Park Service. And also Mitch oh, I have to do this. Joyful Mitch Barloga, who's transportation planning manager of Northwest Indiana Regional.
We're here thankful that people have taken their time to join us tonight to learn about this regional initiative and how much it's going to impact and positively impact our region. I think most of you who are on this presentation already understand the Marquette Greenway. We're going to kind of go over it, where it's going, and some exciting things that are happening this year. And let's begin. Let's go over to this screen and do this. There we go. So if you're not familiar with it, the Marquette Greenway is 60 miles from Chicago to New Buffalo. And although I was supposed to get on this earlier, I never did, updating it. This is from just last year. And it's a good thing that I have to keep updating it because we keep improving upon it and building more segments. What you see here, built is in blue, fully funded is in lighter blue, and the red is partly funded. Um, I will say that, and you're going to see this as we go along with the presentation, we do have a fully funded segment here in the Beverly Shores area, I'm proud to say, recently, and Rafi will talk about that when we get into the national park. And then we are putting about 10 miles on the ground this year, a new trail. So by the end of 26, we should have at least 40 some miles of trail completed for the Marquette Greenway, which is obviously quite an amazing feat. That's 2/3 of the trail done, and then most of it's going to be still within the national park and within the city of Gary, and we'll get into that momentarily. I would like to say that there will be a pop quiz on this chart when we're done. Actually, there will not be. This is giving you an understanding of what's out there when it comes to the Marquette Greenway. It is 45 segments, 44 segments that I have been bird dogging, and Rafi and I have been bird dogging for many, many years now and working on getting these individual projects done. So, although it's a 60-mile corridor, you're not going to fund a 60-mile trail in one shot. You have to do it piece by piece. And not all of this trail is, in fact, very little of it is on abandoned railroad right away. By the way, it's kind of going what I call virgin territory. So because of that, makes it a lot more challenging. So just to let you know, it's moving along. The investment on this, it says 45, it's really 44 segments, and we're at approximately 115, 120 million. Of course, that number does increase as time goes on, as inflation continues to move forward. But we're in about that $120 million range when the whole thing is said and done, when we're finally completed with the project. So continuing on here, and yes, as Nancy had mentioned, if you have questions, we're more than happy to answer them either after this presentation or if you put them in your chat. So I'm just going to take you on a bit of a tour of the Greenway itself as we start in South Chicago and move our way towards the state of Michigan through the national park. In the very top part there, in the very top left, you'll see it coming out of Calumet Park in Chicago. We start technically at 100th Street in Calumet Park. We have about a half mile of trail. It's not trail right now. They've improved the sidewalk and they repaved the roadway with signage. We hope to get more of a better treatment. We hope to get a better treatment within that vicinity. We were hoping for a side path, but the city of Chicago is a bit of an animal to work with. And so we're trying to make that work. But we did our job on our side. I'll show you that momentarily. But this is the route as it continues through Hammond. As you can see, we're pretty much done through Hammond. We have a couple of segments. We have a funded segment that we're trying to work through the Horseshoe area. And then I'll talk about the segment there going into East Chicago. Again, this is how it looks at the state line. We got our act together. We built it right to the state line. This is the old generating power plant entrance, and there's the obelisk. If you're familiar with this vicinity, I used to have a great sign or a great slide that I used. If you turn your back and it was all broken roadway, broken up sidewalk, and I put a welcome to Chicago sign, maybe that got them off their mark and they actually did some improvements over there. They weren't exactly pleased with it, but I'm like, hey guys, come on, we're sitting here with a brand new trail. So this was put in within the last decade, a great start to the right at the state line there for the trail. As you're moving on, you do go through Whiting Lakefront Park, just a beautiful facility, improved by the RDA many, many years ago. But part of the RDA project, keep in mind, Regional Development Authority, I'm trying not to be too acronym heavy here. The Regional Development Authority put about $25 million into refurbishing all of Whiting Lakefront Park. And part of that was kicking off the Marquette Greenway. They actually bronzed the logo of the Greenway, which at that point told me this is permanent. You bronze anything, it's a permanent thing. So what we have here is the view you get at Whiting Lakefront Park, spectacular. And again, what we try to do as much as we can with the Marquette Greenway is get people to the lakeshore. When Congressman Visclosky was first pursuing a trail, he wanted it right on the lake. And bless his heart, we really can't do that. Chicago is kind of an anomaly when it comes to lakefront parks and the lakefront trail. So we did our best and we get to the lake as much as we can. Whiting, Michigan City to be most notable, but we get as close as we can to the lake. We have steel mills, we have private property, we have national park. There's so much we got to contend with, and we do our best to at least get people through as close as possible. When you're continuing onward out of the city of Whiting, you have some good iconic elements. The RDA was helpful in getting this very iconic type of bridge over New York Avenue and Indianapolis Boulevard between Whiting and Hammond. If you've been on that position, if you've been on that trail before, it's quite memorable. And then you get to the Wolf Lake Bridge. This is part of the Marquette Greenway. It crosses over to where the Bears are going to play. Okay, it crosses over to where the pavilion is right now at Wolf Lake. Okay, so we'll see how that works out. But at this point, it is a very attractive entranceway into Wolf Lake, and of course, a very nice part of the Marquette Greenway experience. As you come south out of there, you eventually make your way into the city of East Chicago, down the tollway, and then eventually into the city of East Chicago, right here in the very top left part, Kosciuszko Park, which is on Indianapolis Boulevard in the city of East Chicago. The Marquette Greenway is built on the south side, if you can follow the magic cursor, and then it continues south along Indianapolis Boulevard with a side path. Every seed you see in blue here, which is about 3 point some miles, is funded and will be built this year. Okay, so that goes from Indianapolis Boulevard all the way to Klein Avenue. Okay, it includes a new bridge treatment on over Kennedy Avenue. It's being built by INDOT at this time. It will include a bike path, a separated bike path on that bridge as part of this project. So you're going to have this contiguous route all the way from Indianapolis Boulevard winding through the NIPSCO property. You can see kind of making its way around some of the oil tanks there, and then moving its way into Seidner Dune and Swale. Now, Seidner Dune and Swale commences over at Kennedy Avenue, continues on the Klein Avenue. It is owned by both Shirley Hines Nature Preserve as well as the Nature Conservancy. They're both heading up that right now over there, and they've both been incredibly great partners to work with at this time. If you haven't seen Seidner, it's a beautiful piece of property. One of the things I love to mention about the Marquette Greenway in general is that it picks up a lot of these just remnants of natural beauty all along the landscape. Of course, the national park speaks for itself, but people are not aware of so many other great parcels that are outside of the national park. And of course, Seidner is one of those great parcels that we're really excited about taking part in this entire project. And then you get to this. At Klein Avenue, there is a bridge. Em is very familiar with this. That there is a bridge. This bridge is right, as you can see behind there, you see the trucks. This is right smack next to Klein Avenue Bridge. This goes over the Indiana Toll Road and also over the South Shore tracks. This used to be the old South Shore Bridge going into East Chicago many years ago before they rerouted it where it is today. So if any one of you remember taking the South Shore into downtown East Chicago, this was the bridge, okay? Still there because you ain't moving it anytime soon. It's all iron, it's all concrete. And for reasons known only to God, Save the Dunes owns this bridge, and they would like to get rid of it, and we're happy to take it from them. So, and the best part of it, look at it, it's already landscaped. Look at that. They got landscape. So we're hoping that we can at least get this as part of the Marquette Greenway project, get people over the roadway safely, and then proceed eastward towards Gary. So let me show you how that's going to look. If you take a look all the way to the right, now this is not the right route, so I should have changed this. This pink route that you see is actually going to come under here. That bridge is right here, if you can see my cursor, right along Klein Avenue. So the trail where you see the green line up here stop, that's the Seidner part in the city of Hammond. It's going to continue on this side. It's going to kind of do a curly Q and then stay on the south side of the South Shore tracks, and then pretty much continue all the way through here on the south side of those tracks, connecting neighborhoods in the city of Gary, all the way down, as you can see, to where it commences again over here. That part on the very right side of your screen is called the Gary Greenlink project. That was installed many years ago. It's been there for a while in the city of Gary. The downtown part of Gary has already been completed for the most part. And as you can see, here's another picture of that bridge that we hope to utilize to get people into the city of Gary on the south side. So this is about, as you can see, 3.7 miles of length. Now, where is this? Where is this in the sense of funding? This is right now under engineering review. we received some money for this from the federal government, but not nearly enough. In fact, we don't even have enough to finish the engineering. Preliminary costs just to make this 3.7 miles a reality is about $17 million. So that's a pretty big chunk. And that is, of course, providing a very critical connection going, towards the city of Chicago or vice versa for the city of Gary residents that we're very keen on getting completed. So we are in the process of some preliminary engineering work, which we do have funding for, but getting it done, we're still looking for that funding. We're hoping we can go to the RDA or some other avenues to help out to get that completed and to make that work. Of course, I'm sitting here looking at all the money they're throwing at a Bear Stadium, and hey, I got a trail. It's a lot cheaper, and I think a lot more people will enjoy it. Just me. I'm just talking to myself. Okay, let's move on. When we get to the city of Gary, the trail itself is kind of winding itself through neighborhoods right now. And as you can see here, there's a side path that's been created. Second Avenue that you're seeing here used to be a two-way. Now it's a one-way street. It accommodates a trail off to the left. And you see this kind of treatment kind of zigzagging its way through downtown Gary till it gets to this part right here. Now, this is my handoff to the national park. All I can say is that the trail itself is moving itself along through the neighborhoods of Gary to where the South Shore Station is in downtown Gary, and then it goes up Broadway, and eventually it comes here. The trail will run along that south side there of the Union Station and continue to the backside of the national park. And with that, I will introduce my cohort partner in crime or whomever, my Clyde to Bonnie, whatever, Rafi Wilkerson. Take it away.
Thanks, Mitch. And obviously, thank you, Nancy, Save the Dunes, all of our sponsors, and thank you, everyone, to coming out for this. I was sort of tagged to begin this. I didn't know the journey in 2019 that some 7 years later that it would consume me. Like Mitch said, we work on this every single day, and it's been great to see some of the results of that. I will say that obviously we know sort of the history of the Marquette Greenway, and it sort of start with Representative Visklowski some 25 to 30 years ago. And obviously, Mitch, hats off to you for really starting this in the mid 2000s. But I also want to tell you a story that the National Park, in our first general management plan, which is sort of our overarching guiding document, the first one we ever produced was in 1980. And by that time, we had already seen the need for what we called the East-West Trail. And so it literally would start here at Union Station and end in by Mount Baldy. And sure enough, some 45 years later, it's finally coming to fruition. So this is also very, very critical to the National Park Service as well. So, and Mitch, you unshared or something. He's muted and there we go. Coming back. Okay. Union Station. And I should say that there is a nonprofit called DK Devils, and with a great president of that organization that obviously has large dreams for this and to see this as the proper sort of western entrance into the national park. So hopefully, fingers crossed, someday this will also be a fantastic amenity for the trail. So Mitch, next slide, if you can. Very good. So this slide, we're seeing quite a breadth. We're starting again on the far left. That is the Union Station area. And on the far right is County Line Road, or our entrance into West Beach. And we can see that the large red line is one of the uncompleted parts. We call that phase 2. It runs from essentially the Paul Douglas Center at Lake Street west all the way again to Broadway. And we currently have enough money to do the design and the compliance work for that. We do not currently have construction funding for that. That's something that even today I sat in on a meeting looking for construction funding. I just got some estimates. We estimate that this will be about a $6 to $7 million segment. We do have to put back a bridge over Lake Street and a larger bridge over Norfolk Southern, some 350 feet. I will tell you that Norfolk Southern has been great to us, but railroads in general are some of the most difficult things to work with. They have obviously a lot of restrictions and obviously a lot. This Norfolk Southern line has some 70 freight trains and over 15 Amtrak's a day. So it's a critical piece of that. But we're getting through that, and we will get this thing designed this year, compliance next year, and then hopefully constructed the year after that. One major victory milestone is the green portion that runs from the Paul Douglas Center to West Beach. That section was officially completed back in February. We will have a not groundbreaking, but a ribbon cutting, hopefully in May. But a major accomplishment for the trail for the national park to now have really good non-motorized connections between two of our largest areas. So basically Miller Woods to West Beach. It's a fantastic trail. And also point out sort of this is what it looked like beforehand in that photo down there. Some of this was on some rail corridor here before we converted it. So, and I'll tell you, and there's another large regional initiative that I hope you start hearing more about called Sand and Steel. So it is sort of a region-wide lean into our heritage and sort of where we are today. And so you're going to see two of the most incredibly different photos. So from that section of trail, not the completed section, but the section out to the west a little bit, the unbuilt section, you do have a bird's eye view into the U.S. Steel complex, but at the same time, next slide, you have this incredible rail corridor that will be the trail. So, and globally rare black oak savanna, this is one of the largest stands in the national park of this globally rare habitat. And it will be fantastic, and a fantastic addition to the Marquette Greenway and to the national park. And next slide, hopefully here. So I mentioned we completed this section, and so one of the big things for that was to replace truly a bridge to nowhere that had sat over Grand Boulevard. If you've ever been in the neighborhood of Miller, you had seen this. If you'd ever been up and down Grand Boulevard, and the park installed this in 1999, the old bridge, and really thought that it was going to be successful in getting the trail over to the Douglas Center, but there was real estate issues that I've also worked on for the last 7 years and others for 20 years to figure out. But in February, we dropped in a brand new 120-foot bridge over Grand Boulevard that is higher, wider, and bike compliant. We can actually drive vehicles over it in terms of emergency and fire response and everything else. So a major upgrade for the community, but welcome you to go to that right now. It's really fantastic. And I think there's one more picture of the trail, perhaps. Yeah, and so this is part of that newly completed section of trail, and I just was out there last weekend, and it is really fantastic. I urge all of you to either park at the Douglas Center or park at West Beach and either walk or ride this segment. It's really spectacular. Okay, so we are now up to County Line Road on the far left, and we are up to Burns Waterway, State Road 249, Portage Lakefront on the right-hand side. That yellow line is the one other major section that the national park needs to complete. We call this phase 3, and tied with the section that I talked about before, heading west out to Broadway, phases 2 and 3 will have enough money, and we'll talk a little bit more later, but thank you to the Lilly Foundation grant that the region received for some $20 million. There was a component of that aided in the compliance and design of these two sections. So this section, we will meander through West Beach more formally and obviously make a very nice non-motorized connection into West Beach. And then we will go around the community of Ogden Dunes. We will tie into the Ogden Dunes train station, which allows bikes on trains. So that will be significant, and that will provide South Shore users really, really easy access to both West Beach and Portage Lakefront. So that will be significant. And this section will end where there already exists a trail from the southern end of Portage Lakefront, where Portage has their pavilion, but I will also sort of tease that this is the location of a new museum, the Sand and Steel Museum, that's already has some funding and is getting its HVAC fixed this year. So that will be a great destination along this part of the trail. And it goes up to the red line, and then from the red line up to the National Parks Portage Lakefront Riverwalk is already completed as well. So that will be a really great spur off the main line of the trail up to Portage Lakefront. And then the red line is another uncompleted section. It is different from the last two that we've talked about in that it is completely outside of the national park, but thankfully Mayor Bonta and the city of Portage have taken up the charge to get this section complete. Mitch has been instrumental in it as well. And essentially we will utilize the path of least resistance. So luckily there are roads and stuff that are wide enough that we can snake this thing out of that area across the South Shore, across the Burns Waterway and the Norfolk Southern and US 12, and get it down to completed trail down by Ameriplex and NIRPC at the entrance to Ameriplex. So some more photos now of some really cool concepts that Mitch has put together of what this could look like.
And just as a matter of housekeeping, yes, very cool concepts. The slideshow is maybe a 1 or 2 seconds delay from when I change over. So I'm there. It's just it's not responding as fast as I'd like.
It's all great. All great. So this is where, again, to the right would be the spur up to Portage Lakefront. To the left is the main line down towards, as I mentioned, a new Sand and Steel Museum, and down towards the train station. And then to the lower left would be the main line that's going to go over Burns Waterway and continue easterly. But this would be, a rendering of what it could look like. So, and we will right now there exists an old railroad bridge that is tied into some of that rail corridor to the west. And again, this is another rendering that Mitch made of what that treatment of that bridge. So we will either utilize the existing railroad bridge or we would replace it. But obviously having a proper welcoming. This is obviously done for a Sand and Steel meeting where a working group has started with that. So don't get fixated on the exact words, but just look at how amazing it would be to be able to ride that and have that to come into the Portage Lakefront area of the national park. And I mentioned, there's so much infrastructure that we have to get around or go over, and it's just really tough to do. But the proposal that we have on the table right now is to utilize the roadway that does go in. If you've ever driven into Portage Lakefront, you know that it looks like you're going to go right into US Steel there. But luckily that bridge is a full 4 lanes wide. And so the concept is to right size that road, and on the left-hand side, put on a really dedicated bike pedestrian lane for safety to get us over there. But it is we're very lucky to have it, because the amount of infrastructure that we have to deal with over there makes this route plausible because of this bridge. And so along with this, we have an opportunity then, Mitch, advance to really reutilize, which is a really nice historic artifact called, it's Chrisman Road. Chrisman Road runs on the west side parallel to 249. And there is a bridge. You maybe see, if you've driven, around Ameriplex or Ameriplex up to 12, you have seen this bridge in the past, and it is currently not being used, but we would reutilize it. And again, sort of similarly, we have a great rendering of being revitalized and put into use as part of the Marquette Greenway. So that'd be a fantastic reuse of a historic structure. All right, another big section. What's awesome about this is that it's all in green, meaning that this is all completed. So again, on the far left, we see NIRPC, which is just a little bit west of 249. And obviously the red connection that Portage would make up to the Portage Lakefront. On the far right-hand side of this screen is a little past 149. And that is a trail that is meandering up towards one of the key blocks this trail has had for decades. And we'll get into that in just a second. But this is, I always think that Burns Harbor and Porter are the little towns that could and do. You know, they have very small populations, but they have figured out ways to build a lot of this trail, which is very expensive. And so the first part of this trail is going to run right along Ameriplex Drive through there. So I always tell people, you know, you can take your kids or whatever and ride to Dairy Queen or all that stuff sort of there, go to Bass Pro. But it leaves Ameriplex and enters into national parkland, and there's a really stunning section there that crosses Salt Creek. There's a 120-foot bridge sort of down in there in the middle of nowhere that was installed. And there's some dramatic switchbacks to get out of the lowland areas of the East Branch, Little Calumet, and Salt Creek up on the high ground. And then it meanders very nicely to the town headquarters of Burns Harbor, located on 149. It parallels alongside 149 just for a little bit. And then it moves over into a section called Westport. We call Westport, that Burns Harbor one day would like to do a mixed-use development. And then it snakes around a neighborhood and currently is stopped just shy of the Little Calumet River ravine, waiting for its connection. And I think we have a few photos, and then obviously I'll talk another great reveal. So this is on the left-hand side. You can see what the trail does look like running through Ameriplex. It's wide, it's separated, really good treatments on the roads and signs sort of there, so very safe to run through there. And then this is showing that section that was just recently completed. This was right after it was completed. This is all now very green. The landscape is all back, and it's really beautiful. On the left-hand side there, Mitch actually took a picture of me, but that's walking up that ravine section, which affords some really nice views of the larger Little Calumet River area. And then on the right-hand side at the far distance, you can see that bridge that is running over Salt Creek. Just a really cool section. It's a part of the national park you would never have gotten into without this trail. And it is like a lot of this national park where you can't, you can get to places where you're like, wow, you can't see anything but just nature. And it's really a nice place. And this is another example. This is a little bit further to the east, but another treatment again that Burns Harbor has done. And again, right after construction. I was sharing before we went live on this, and unfortunately I tended to take a lot of photos of during construction, and a lot of that construction is during kind of on the non-summer months, and I don't have a lot when it's completed, so I definitely got to work on my pretty photos. So we'll go from there. And Mitch, you can advance now. So this little section, it's 1.8 miles, but it has stymied us at the national park and as part of the Marquette Greenway for a very long time. Again, for reference, on the far left is that trail snaking up from Burns Harbor headquarters up to the Little Calumet. And on the far right is that road that is both green and orange. That is Howe Road. Maybe you know that as part of where the Dunes Learning Center is located. Also the Bailey Homestead, and also where we have a kayak launch. And there's also a wonderful preschool there called the Field Station. So this segment called Minoki Prairie is divided in half between the two towns of Porter and Burns Harbor. We were lucky several years ago that Governor Holcomb awarded these two communities a combined $7.2 million in next level trail funding to make this happen. So on the Burns Harbor side, and I'll show a photo after this, but there was a Norfolk Southern one, somewhere or another, you have got to get around it. You've got to get east of it. And after years and decades of looking, it was decided that the best way is to go under them along the Little Calumet River. So about 15 years ago, they needed to replace that bridge. We worked with them to have it constructed in such a way that there was room to get a trail under it. Then they said no in 2019, which scuttled Burns Harbor's funding. And it took us another, 7 years to get that back. But I can say that we have all the agreements necessary at this point, and the funding and construction has started to get the trail under the Norfolk Southern main line and up into Minoki, traversing towards the east. And at a juncture called Babcock Road, it switches over into the town of Porter. And the town of Porter has also started its construction along the southern edge of Minoki Prairie, right along Beam Street. And at the far eastern end, it will hug the wood line along there and come in to the preschool or near the preschool, and joining up with a completed section, an existing regional trail called the Porter Brickyard, which I'll explain a little bit. And we might as well do it now. So the neat thing about this is we're going to see a little bit more of it, but that orange line to the south, you should be aware, goes over US 20, continues on down through Porter, kind of on the edge of Chesterton, where it hooks up with another regional trail called the Prairie Duneland. And the Prairie Duneland goes all the way to Hobart. And in Hobart, it's really all the same rail line at this point, but it then switches name to become the Oak Savannah Trail, which heads out through another national park unit, our Oak Savannah unit, and goes all the way over to Griffith, where then you could pick up, for instance, the Erie Lackawanna. And so this is a really kind of important juncture where the Marquette Greenway will connect into a broader trail system as well here. But so this is under construction currently, and the Porter side, which is a little bit easier, will be done in the September-October range, knock on wood. The Burns Harbor side could take into the winter and maybe as long as the spring, depending upon how the construction. There's over 1,000 feet of boardwalk to get down into the floodplain area, and then the sort of the bridge under Norfolk Southern, under their bridge, and then back out. So we hope that will be completed by the time you would want to go riding next spring in a little over a year, or right about a year from now. So this is an aerial of this underpass. So monumental undertaking. What we're seeing here is on the right-hand side is where this trail will connect into that existing. So on the far right-hand side is sort of looking southwesterly towards 149. And obviously it'll connect into that existing trail, wind its way down near Norfolk Southern, go under it, and then snake along Norfolk Southern easterly, hugging along the edge of the prairie all the way over towards Howe Road. But it'll be a dramatic piece of riding once it's done. And I should mention that this entire 60 miles, and certainly all of this, will all be ADA, ABA compliant, so grades of less than 5%, paved, level, and so, but will still make for some really cool riding. So, and this is just where it's going to pop out. So this will be a nice little trailhead area. This parking lot already exists. We kind of know it with the national park as the Minoki Prairie parking lot just off of Howe Road. And the prairie and sort of the trail will, right on the far left-hand side, you can kind of see a clearing. That is that start of Minoki Prairie. And the trail will be along the fence line heading to the right down to Howe Road, again, where it's going to make its connection into the existing Porter Brickyard. So now we're seeing a map here, and I kind of mentioned that the purple is the existing trail, the existing Porter Brickyard. We see the blue Minoki Prairie segment that will be completed connecting into it, and then obviously I have a choice then to go north and stay on the Marquette Greenway, or south or southeasterly, heading into Porter, and then, like I said, taking it all the way to Griffith if you wanted to and further. This existing trail already snakes around the national park and ends up on a really nice overpass over US 12. And we can see here, interesting, this is dated just a little bit, is that one of the nice things that we finally got out of the South Shore was a dedicated separated crossing here. So there is now a crossing of their 4 tracks just north of US 12 there at Mineral Springs Road. And that ties into maybe the region's oldest sort of trail, a regional trail. This the Calumet Trail, I can see it on maps as early as 1970. So this trail has been here a very long time. It's a little over 9 miles long, and as it was built It basically followed the NIPSCO power line corridor all the way over. But those of you who have ever ridden this know that it was really a lake at times, dangerous to ride. I know of one injury of a broken arm on this trail. I have personally seen small fish on this trail before it was fixed. So there has been a longstanding desire to obviously make the trail better and to modernize it. And we're now in the land of Porter County. Porter County has been significant. And just because I'll forget to say this, the other thing that everyone on this call should know is that this 60-mile trail is actually 3 states, 5 counties, more than a dozen municipalities, the national park, the state park, Save the Dunes, Shirley Hines Land Trust, the Nature Conservancy, and I know I'm leaving others out, that have all given land, given right-of-way. I should also say, obviously, NIPSCO has done that. The South Shore has done that. This is truly a regional effort. I don't know that there's ever been one to thread this through. And I know I'm missing some groups, and I apologize. But so this is an example of Porter County and NIPSCO working together. And we'll go to the next slide, Mitch, I think.
Yeah, and I just want to also throw in there the Burns Harbor segment that you saw pretty much from Salt Creek over to 149. That was donated by ArcelorMittal.
That's true too. Yeah, that land was given by ArcelorMittal, and they continue to be very helpful for us. So, like I said, it's not as though we had a 60-mile rail corridor where we can just simply convert it. It has. Sometimes I've worked on real estate for 5 years now to try to get 125 feet of trail. So it's not for the faint of heart to try to build. But again, with all these great partners, it's happened. And this is a great example. This section here from that Mineral Springs Road, this was a grand opening where I can see Mitch and I are on the right-hand side, but you've got Porter there, you've got Porter County commissioners there, and so really, really great people. And this is a brand new ribbon cutting. And this trail is going to run from Mineral Springs Road all the way to the Dune Park train station, which we'll see on a map. And here's a couple pictures of it being modernized, raised. This particular section has some 30, we call them trench drains, but to allow the water to flow back and forth. I do not know the topography of, say, in the 1800s. And I don't know what, when NIRPC, or sorry, not NIRPC, but when NIPSCO, came through. But one thing is for sure, over the last several decades, nature has decided that this wants to be a wetland. And so we were very careful on where we put it and did input it, and we took a lot of measures. But I've ridden this many times now, and it's really, it's safe to ride now, and it's fast and efficient, but also, again, it's starting to connect people to the Dune Park train station. So this map here on the left-hand side, we are seeing, again, that completed section of the Calumet Trail. And where there's that little notch and where the blue is there, that is the Dune Park train station. On the far right-hand side, we're seeing sort of the eastern part of Beverly Shores. The blue starts at a road called Lakeshore County Road, which we'll talk about in a second. So we've completed that section of trail to the Dune Park train station. From there, it is going to use an existing ramp up to another regional trail, but in its infancy, called the Dunes Kankakee Trail. Again, that regional trail, visionary to go all the way from the edge of Lake Michigan in the state park all the way down to the Kankakee River, basically traversing all of Porter County, the Dunes Kankakee Trail. Currently, that trail goes from the state park down to our visitor center, but so that you can see you'll ride in by the train station, you'll take the spur up, and then you will immediately turn around and go south, again, over the South Shore, over US 12. And if you were to continue straight down, kind of where that 49 side is, you would go past that US 20 interchange to the visitor center. However, again, now it's under full construction. The dark blue line is where that is going to start, and we've been able to remove a great deal of this trail off of that power line corridor and into the national park. So that is going to meander northeasterly past Tremont Road over to a road called Haydenfeld. There's a very dramatic section in there where we're going to go over Dunes Creek on a boardwalk, so a 200-foot boardwalk, and it is really pretty in there. We will road share Haydenfeld. Haydenfeld gets only like a couple dozen cars a day, so we will reuse that road, and it's going to get up then to a road called Furnaceville. The park owns that road, and we will convert that road to a one-lane road, and we will use the north half of that road for the trail. We were able to avoid 1 mile of some rare and endangered plants along there, so that was a critical thing for us to do. And then it's going to hook up to the US 12 area on another park road that we own but has been closed off for a very long time called Teal. If you've ever been along US 12 and you've seen the horse hitching posts and a couple of picnic tables off to there, that is Teal Road. And then it will run for the next mile quite close to US 12. If you've driven it, you have seen that the trees have come down and they'll obviously be removed, and that will be a really nice trail along, but not directly against 12, but in the woods, and get us to Kemmel Road. Kemmel Road is where our old visitor center used to be. It is also the USGS headquarters now, but there's a nice parking lot, trailhead, and restrooms there. We will then cross over 12 on surface. That intersection will get a new treatment with curbs and flashing signs and stuff to increase its safety. And then we will utilize yet another at-grade separated crossing that NICD, the South Shore, put in with Porter County. And then we will get our way up to an abandoned road in Beverly Shores called Service Avenue. And this will again be a nice addition through the woods, just north of the power line corridor, but again, very nice in a wooded setting. And then it will punch back out just before the Beverly Shores administration buildings, like their town hall, fire station, police station, where it will come down to the existing alignment and into the parking lot for the Beverly Shores train station. Now, everything you see in blue today should be done, constructed by the end of this calendar year. So fingers crossed, obviously, but we've started all of that, and that will obviously be a tremendous connection for the trail. That leaves one last little red section. Oh yeah, so we got you can do that. So this is a couple of photos. Yeah, so let me just explain also. So what's labeled as phase 4. So that was a huge announcement today that Porter County, kind of jointly with the National Park, had applied for a federal grant, and they were awarded $4 million today for that. So a huge win for the trail, for Porter County, and for the national park itself. So that now means, and it's so new, I don't have any I don't have any timelines on it, but that section already is fully designed, has full compliance. And so now it's a matter of just, staging when Porter County can get this, when the money is available and when we can build it. So, but that will close that gap to obviously a completed section that runs from Lakeshore County Road over to Highway 12. And sorry, Mitch, now you got a couple of photos. So this next photo is going to be part of this road is going to be utilized for that road in the woods. I mentioned Service Avenue. This is not Service Avenue, but this is a road that's parallel to East State Park Road or Kemmel, and that will be used, a portion of that will be used for the trail as it leaves the NIPSCO corridor. And this is a photo of Furnaceville Road. So if you can envision here, I think we're heading west or east here, so it would be the left-hand side of the road will be converted to trail. And it's a really nice scenic road, and we needed to do this anyways. The park has actually tried to close this road 4 times in the last 50 years. The last time that we had traffic counters on it, we did arrest a motorcycle at over 100 miles on this, but the average speed on this road, it's posted at 25. The average speed is 55, and many people drive it at over 70 miles an hour, and there are horse crossings on this road, so it needed a treatment anyways. But this will be a wonderful section of trail that runs along this road. Obviously, iconic, historic Beverly Shores train station has a wonderful museum, the Depot Museum in there, that holds a lot of events. And not shown, but also our campground is just to the south of this. And so that will be, be able to tie right in. People can camp at our campground and utilize it. Also, there are more and more sort of businesses and amenities at this stop ground as well. And you're at this point just under a mile, an easy ride right up Broadway with sidewalk up to the lake and some of the Eastern National Park beaches of Lakeview, Dunbar, Kemmel as well. So, and obviously it'll tie where that silver SUV is where the trail will go through right there. And I will sign off. And this section is technically just as you cross. This might actually still be on national park land, but it's just to the east of US 12, where US 12 makes its bend at the county line between LaPorte and Porter County and starts to head due north to the Mount Baldy curve. And the trail kind of continues there. So I'm sure I'll get a chance to thank everyone again, but I'm indebted to Mitch, and I will say that out. And I finally, after 7 years of working on it, just a couple weeks ago, I was granted the Holy Grail, the Mitch bicycle pin. So I feel honored. So thank you, Mitch.
Let me just preface by saying it shouldn't take 7 years for you to get a pin. So sorry about that. Thank you, Rafi. That was obviously very informative, and hopefully people were able to digest all the information. I was going to run through some parts of the trail, get into some exciting developments coming up here, and so we can have a little bit of time to talk. This is, again, the segment entering into Michigan City. Let's continue here. And what you see on this map coming up, and again, I might be talking ahead of the slide, so again, forgive me, but the route in Michigan City, as you can see, it's not exactly straightforward at first. And being with the Marquette Greenway project for this many years, not having a true abandoned corridor to work with, we've had to kind of work with community preferences and some good ideas that have come up over the years. And this is no different. I thought for the longest time we could take the Marquette Greenway and just kind of run along, maybe north of the tracks and continue on to where this blue line is, all the way from Washington Park. But it became clear to us, a planner by the name of Craig Phillips, when he was working there many years ago, said, hey, we got this isolated trail down here that's going over Trail Creek, and no one ever uses it. Why don't we just come down here and make that work? What that kind of showed me was, well, that's also connecting down to the neighborhoods in Michigan City, and also connecting to some of the commercial areas of the city as well, and to some areas, again, of the city that people really never knew was there, some nice environmental remnants. So I'll show you, give you an example. This is a bridge over Trail Creek that was just isolated. No one really knew it was there except for local people. And now it's part of the Greenway. And so the trail does now route over this and takes pretty much a very sharp turn to the east when you get over the trail, but a great lookout and a great discovery when you're in a highly urbanized area. And then you get through this area where there is a landfill, an old landfill that they had quite a few surprises when they built this. They found some old kind of shipping containers down there and whatever else surprises they had, and a lot of peat moss for that matter as well. So quite a bit of overrun for the construction, but eventually they did build this boardwalk around the old landfill there. And the current termini of the trail now is at Liberty Park Road, although there is a bit of segment that does go through north of Friendship Gardens and Potawatomi Park. But it's an isolated segment right now that we're hoping to connect very shortly from Liberty Trail through there to Friendship Garden eventually, and then that goes to Carwick. Carwick will cross the street, and then I showed a picture before of, I'm going to go back to it because I'm confusing myself. So what I want to do is show you this picture. If you take a look, that landfill area where that boardwalk is right down here in that vicinity. This blue line is funded to get the trail connected to an existing segment here. This is Martin Luther King Drive. And this entire blue segment that continues onward towards the state of Michigan is funded. We hope to actually have that in probably within the next, we're thinking within the next 2 or 3 years, and to get that completed. So continuing on here, we do have a segment of the trail that has been completed in Michiana Shores uh, to the state line. It's a 1 mile segment. It was built, funded and built by LaPorte County Parks. So that is all completed and gets us to the state of Michigan. When you're in the state of Michigan, they've done quite a bit of work already. And right here, you see the state line to the bottom. We have that 1 mile segment that is complete. There is about a half mile here that still has to be completed in the state of Michigan. It is part of that project in Michigan City, so we hope to have that complete within a couple years. Everything you see in green, though, from where it crosses the tracks, goes all the way into the downtown New Buffalo. That's all done. Wonderful segment of trail that has been completed. Here's how it looks right now. So you have the trail being built right here between State Route or between US 12 and the Amtrak. You have a nice fencing. They wanted fencing, so instead of putting up the old chain link, they actually went with this nice iron fence here. So you have that nice separation. So over here you have train, and over here you have dispensaries. So have fun when you're in New Buffalo. But this is the actual path that you have now as you get into the city. As you get into the city itself, there's some more treatments that they've done. They have some creekways and some waterways that have to be negotiated. They put in some really nice boardwalk. What you see on the right side of the screen is the signage that you encounter when you get into New Buffalo. Marquette Greenway, well defined there. So great work on their part. And when you get into the city itself, it becomes a side path, a concrete side path, because apparently concrete looks better than asphalt, but I have my druthers. That's a whole nother story. Could have a whole nother presentation on that. But we have a nice sidewalk going into, or side path into, New Buffalo. And eventually we have that all completed. So there is it goes into Mechanic Street. There is a trailhead at Mechanic Street where there is some parking, where there is some signage, and then you're only about a couple of blocks off of the main drag in New Buffalo, which is Whitaker Street. So at that point, there's a whole nother effort to get it from New Buffalo north to South Haven. And so that's happening. We have parts of the trail being built right now. There's a part of the Red Arrow Highway that's being converted, but we're going a long way. There's a lot to report here. So Michigan's definitely picking up the energy. I do want to touch on a couple of initiatives right now. I'm kind of calling this the Marquette Greenway universe, so to speak, the MGU. So you've heard about the Marquette Greenway. What I'd like to talk about is this project called NWI Thrive. You may have heard about it. It was a project that was funded by the Lilly Foundation at $20 million just a couple of years ago, and it's in full throttle right now. And it involves all of these different nodes that you're looking at on the screen. I'll just go over it briefly, but these are all connected to both the South Shore Line and the Marquette Greenway. We're trying to improve connections from South Shore stations to the Marquette Greenway. It includes starting from the left side, the South Shore station in East Chicago, getting people safely there to the route of the station. We have downtown Gary as well, where we have the station coming in, and of course the connection at the Indiana Dunes at Union Station, which Rafi described earlier. We have a very significant connection in Miller, where we're going to have the trail come, a new trail being built from the Marquette Greenway on Grand Boulevard. It'll take people up to Marquette Park and down to the town, the village of Miller in the city of Gary, getting people to the Lake Street corridor there. That will include a road diet. If you're familiar with Grand Boulevard, it's a very wide roadway. We're hoping to bring that down from 4 lanes to 3 and include a side path, a buffered side path with vegetation, trees, and what have you. So it becomes a pleasant experience for people coming off the trail, going to Marquette Park. Marquette Park being a very significant recreation facility for the city of Gary. So that's a great addition for the city. And then you continue onward. You have Beverly Shores. You have a connection from the Beverly Shores train station to the campground. Right now, we really don't have that connection right now, and so we're wanting to bring that into the network. We already have a trail connection into the State Park campground, so now both campgrounds are going to both have that energy. And then finally, on the very right-hand side is a connection to downtown Michigan City. If anyone's familiar with the Cultural Trail in Indianapolis, they're trying to do a mini version of that on Pine Street in Michigan City from the new station that they have built on 11th Street up to the Marquette Greenway. And I know Nancy is highly involved with that initiative with Mayor Angie, and we're looking to get that done and make that work. So that's the Thrive project. And I just want you to also understand there's one more that I'd like to talk about. And I know we're going long, but there's so much to talk about here.
We're over.
So yes. So if you don't mind, I just want to touch on the Gary Elevated real quick because the Gary Elevated is part of the Marquette Greenway once we can get this completed. What you have seen here in this blue line is the Marquette Greenway through downtown Gary that we had described. The Gary Elevated is taking an old elevated part of the city of an old elevated railroad right through the heart of the city of Gary and converting that as an elevated line. Will it look like the 606 in Chicago? I don't know, but we're going to hopefully have that type of energy on the trail when it's completed. Uh, right now, it is a raw product. There's many parts of it that we have to still revitalize, but a lot of the bridges are still in there. We've done some work out there, doing some reconnaissance, seeing how it's going to look. There are some bridges that we have to replace, like this one over the Indiana Toll Road to get to the city of Gary. But as you can see, it's landscaped. Most of it is in there. The bridges are in there to be renovated at this time. This one is the one that you actually enter the city of Gary on US 20. There's some old trestles that we hope to revitalize as well as we're coming through the town. And again, parts of it that have been taken down that we hope to replace with some new pedestrian bridges. We had a great visit here. Emma's in there somewhere from Save the Dunes. We had a great visit with Gary people that we're working with right now in a coalition. We got Pierre in there as well, and the Bronze Fonz in the middle there when we went to Milwaukee and looked at a similar venture that we're hoping to build off and use their energy to work on Gary Elevated. And I'm working with some Purdue landscape architecture students. We're hoping to have our first flush of the designs of the new Gary Elevated by Purdue landscape architects in next month. And that'll be a coalition meeting that we're going to call for the public to be part of. And so be looking out for that very shortly. And this is how it's going to all happen. I'm not going to get into this in detail. I'm over time. But here we are in 26 on the right side. We hope to use the pat on the left side. We hope to use all of this energy bouncing off of different funding opportunities. We're hoping for a 2035 opening of that trail corridor. That's it. So definitely thank you all for listening and taking part in this evening. Could actually go on for another hour or two with all the work that we've been doing on this trail and other adjacent efforts as well. So again, thank you for your time. We're more than happy to take questions. I know that there are questions, Nancy, but I'll let you moderate from here.
Yeah. Em, I want to acknowledge we're like 5 minutes over where we should be right now.
Yes.
If you want to hang in here, we'll hang in here with Mitch and Rafi and get through some of these questions. If you're not able to stay, then thank you for joining us this evening. And we'll catch you next time for our program that's happening always the first Thursdays of the month at 6:30. Okay, Em, do you want to run through those questions
Sure. I've
really
got it.
quick?
Yes,
So
I've
we're gonna ask quick questions, and we're gonna ask Mitch and Rafi for quick answers so we can
Okay.
get through all of them.
Okay, I've got them already written down. So one
Oh,
question
wow.
came through is there a map of the trailheads or parking lots that are accessible for this trail?
We do provide that with our Northwest Indiana Greenways Blueways map that we put out periodically, like every other year. So one is going out this year that will have that keeps up with what's built and what's there now. Yes.
Okay. Another question, any bicycling organizations that are interested in leading community rides on the areas of the trail that are done? I can do a quick answer that Save the Dunes is heading up a lot of the NWI Thrive events, and we are trying to do more biking programs. So we ran one last October in Miller Beach in collaboration with Cycle 219, which is the rentable bikes through the Gary Public Transit Corporation, and we're hoping to do more of those with Pedal Power, who is at the Dunes Visitor Center. So keep an eye out for those. And always, if you want to gather your own group of people and get out on the trail, that's always welcome too.
And
Nick,
I would
Nick,
say
Nick,
that Oh, go ahead, Nancy.
No, I'm just trying to keep moving on here, okay?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. One question about Phragmites cleanup around the trail. I don't know if we want to talk to any invasive.
No,
Well, that's more of a
it's
save the
not
dunes.
happening.
Uh,
It's not happening. So go on to the next question.
Carl and Harate, I think we may have answered some of your questions around the Michigan City to Michigan State Line Trail. So again, in the works. Um, and then there have been some questions about grade and other access points in Michigan City in the chat as well. So some blocks that look like they got put up at right at the Singing Sands Trail that Trent is curious about if those blocks are going to be moved and
So
complete.
Okay.
that's a separate thing that Shannon Eason has been working on for more than a decade. That is Amtrak's fault. My understanding is that they have reached maybe a new agreement on that, but that is just that's the reality of railroads. And so, but it sounds like there may be some movement. I'm not saying it's going to be done in the next year, but it sounds like there has been some very meaningful movement within the last couple months on that.
Thank you. Any
Yes,
more
and
questions?
that was all that's written. There's a couple of
Anything on Facebook?
no, just thanks and praise on Facebook.
Okay. Okay, great. So
We have a
let's move
couple of hand.
into
We have a couple of hands.
announcements real quick, okay?
Oh, Nancy, we do have a couple of hands up. So Terry has one question here.
We have to keep moving here, if that's
Oh, okay.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
we have to wrap up. Em, do you have your announcements ready, or I'll jump right in?
Go ahead, Nancy.
Okay, we have a session called Recycle Smart, Do Your Part. And this is a spring recycling workshop that's happening April 15th, 5:30 p.m. Michigan City Hall in the downstairs EOC room. What's going to be fun about this is you are asked to bring something to stump such a G Burns. She's the expert. We have coming up our 5th annual Earth Month extravaganza. And this is going to be again at the Michigan City Senior Center, Saturday, April 25th, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. And 10 a.m. there'll be a beach cleanup. And then at 9 a.m. there's going to be a tree planting at the Walker Street Community Garden. You can go onto the Michigan City Sustainability page and get a lot more details for this event. And the final thing I have to announce is there is going to be a pollinator garden planting workshop on Saturday afternoon, April 9th, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. This again is going to be at the Michigan City Senior Center. It's going to be a hands-on experience. You're going to be able to practice planting natives, take one or a couple home with you for transfer to your home, a garden at your school, church, or whatever. And this is in conjunction with support for Hoosier Habitat Challenge, which is being sponsored by the National Wildlife Foundation, Northwest Indiana Region Resilience, and Earth Charter Indiana. We are aiming to have the state of Indiana become the first state in the whole country that is certified as a native habitat.
Excellent. Yeah, I shared a link to our events page in the chat here. So it's just savedunes.org/events will be popping up at Earth Day events across the region and hosting other events as well. So if you're not already on our email list, you can find that on our website as well.
Okay, I know we could go on and probably have a 2-hour session, so maybe this is a sign, Rafi and Mitch, that we need to have you back every year. I know, Mitch, you have always offered to come back every year, so we will seriously consider that. And thank you all for joining us this evening. And if your question didn't get answered, I know that you can send that to M or to Mitch or Rafi directly, and we will be sure that you get your answer, okay? Again, thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. And it was good to see so many new people and some really good old friends here this evening also.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you all. Bye bye.